Today's gaming PC comes in under $600. It's gonna play literally every game we throw at it in 1080p, and it's also gonna be rocking a color scheme that even I have never tried before. I'm gonna walk you through every part I selected, why I chose it, and even offer a few alternatives. Then we'll benchmark this PC to prove that you don't need a ton of money to jump into PC gaming. But first, let's actually build the PC over on my Twitch live stream for Thirsty Thursday. This parts list is a pretty standard roundup as far as performance goes if you've been watching my budget build guide videos lately, so we're of course gonna start with the Ryzen 5 5600. For any gaming PC under about $750, I think this or the 5500 if you wanna go cheaper is definitely the way to go. With 6 cores and 12 threads on a still upgradable CPU socket, you just can't go wrong with the 5600. Now, a more questionable choice is this ASRock B550M Phantom Gaming 4 motherboard, but there's a very specific reason why I'm using it. Before I tell you about that story, let's take a quick break for the sponsor of today's video, GVG Mall. I know you've heard me say this a bunch of times already, but the reason GVG Mall keeps sponsoring these videos is because a bunch of you guys and I keep buying their keys. It's plain and simple. They have the best prices on Microsoft Office keys, other software, games, and even some console stuff as well. More importantly though, is that they have the gold mine for cheap Windows activation keys, and the process couldn't be any easier. Now, these prices on their website look great already, but the true magic is when you use code ZTT18 because that'll give you a beefy 25% discount. They'll then instantly send you the key, you paste that into your Windows activation setting, and then boom, you get full access to Windows, you remove that nasty watermark, and you'll get every update that's available. I wouldn't be showing this to you if it didn't work, so head on down in the description and use code ZTT18 if you need to pick up a key for way cheaper than the normal price. So yeah, back to the motherboard. I actually accidentally got this shipped to me for free from Newegg. They sent me both this one and a full-sized B550 Phantom Gaming 4. No idea why, I think it was just a big mistake, but that's literally the only reason I'm using it. You can realistically go with any B550 that you find a good deal on, or if you're trying to keep things even more budget, then a B450 would get the job done as well. For either choice, you'll want to pick up a 2x8GB 3200 or 3600 megahertz of DDR4, and this is the Silicon Power Zenith RGB kit that I got for $33. There's a bit more room to get this cheaper, around $30 or possibly even under that these days, but I specifically wanted the RGB for our color scheme this time, so this was the cheapest option that provided that. Next up is the SSD, and this is also from Silicon Power as it's their 1TB UD90 Gen 4 NVMe. This one's usually priced a bit higher than my normal budget choices like the Silicon Power A60 and the Team Group MP33, but since this was on a solid sale down to $53, it was an easy choice because it is a little bit faster. For the power supply, this is yet another MSI Mag A550BN, absolutely can't go wrong with it, and I'm also pairing it with these beautiful Formula Mod electric yellow and black cable extensions. These aren't quite the exact shade of yellow that I painted on my stock Ryzen cooler for the 5600, but when they're inside the build and it's kind of dark and you're not being super analytical, they look close enough. The case that these parts are inside of though is the GameMax Forge, and as far as I know, I think this is actually a brand new model, and that's the reason I got it, along with it only being 50 bucks. On paper, this looked like an absolute steal, being micro ATX, having a cool front panel design, and having 4 ARGB fans pre-installed, but I ran into some issues with it during the live stream, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. For the last component, we have the graphics card, and this is the MSI Mech RX 6600, which in 2024 is still the best brand new GPU that you can buy easily for $200. This will play any game you throw at it in 1080p as I'm about to show you, and there's also a bunch of models right at $200, and some even creep down below that, which is some even better value. Feel free to go with any of these other models as long as the aesthetics match whatever you're trying to do if you care about that kind of thing. All in all, here's what the final parts this is looking like, and even if you include that $5 can of spray paint, this is still under the $600 target total price. No matter if you concentrate on aesthetics or pure price to performance value, the Ryzen 5 5600, 16 gigs of DDR4, and RX 6600 is about what you should shoot for, and it'll deliver a whole lot of performance. Speaking of which, I had Sam step in again for this one as I couldn't take the build home with me to play the games, and here are the results for his full benchmarking run. As you can see, most of these titles are around the 1080p high level of mark and running great. Some super demanding games like Starfield should probably still be played with lower settings though if you want that smoother FPS, but overall, a fully complete and aesthetic gaming PC for $600 that can play any title like this is a big win in my book. What wasn't a huge win though was this case, especially during the building live stream. After I built the PC, I actually couldn't get the ARGB fans to turn on, and more importantly than that was this power connector lock that we definitely need to talk about. I had no idea what this even was at first, but there's a green and red switch up here that requires a physical plastic key to turn, and this essentially locks the power button from being used. It's actually a pretty cool feature because it can stop your kids or especially cats from accidentally turning off your PC when you're in the middle of a game. The wiring of how it works was just a little funky tricky though, but we eventually figured it out off stream along with the RGBs, which just needed some adjusting on the daisy chain, and I think the final build looks pretty good. Overall, for 50 bucks, I do actually think this case was worth it, and I even bought a second one to use for an upcoming budget build already. It's a cat-proofed micro ATX with 4 pre-installed ARGB fans, and I do actually like the design of this front panel. The case doesn't give you a whole lot of room for cable management, and the metal is cheap and flimsy, but that's of course what comes with these ultra budget cases. For the build, this black and yellow theme looks super unique, and for a less than $500 price point, I like how it looks like a more expensive and custom crafted build, and I'm certainly digging the performance with the RX 6600. And just as a reminder, if you need some additional help building a custom gaming PC, be sure to head on over to zttbuildhelp.com. I have a ton of completely free resources for custom building and even build guide templates that are super easy to follow. And finally, if you want to see a different way of putting together a build around this $500 price point, then feel free to click the video that's on the screen now.